Hi everyone, welcome to the Woodland Reboot. I'm Peter here at the Reboot. Today, I want to tell you about and show you my off-grid cabin. I've built this big shop. Check out the link above to see how I did that. This off-grid cabin started as a tool shed for this process, for building the shop, I added a lean-to. It's 10 feet, 16 feet long. And as I said, it started out as a shop, a place to store things. And I've converted this to an off-grid cabin. It's crude, it's simple, but it works. Let's have a look. So on the front here, pretty simple, nothing special. I've added the leftover tin from this process down at the bottom here. The wind actually comes in. That direction back there is from the west, so the prevailing winds come in here for the most part. That added protection down low helps. A lot of the materials here are repurposed. Much of the siding is repurposed here. The T11 board or siding, whatever that's called. The door is repurposed. You can see I've got tin from an old barn from the region here in Eastern Ontario. Not 100% I would recommend anybody using that. I've got to say I've had to spend a little bit of time plugging holes, but overall it's worked. Down the side here, nice window install, and the other feature that you see sticking out the side of the building is the vent for the direct vent heater on the inside, as well as the gas line. The siding for the most part is board and batten. Pretty standard board and batten approach. Again, nothing special. While we're here on the side, it's probably the best to talk about the foundation to the building itself. It's on a gravel pad with 4x4 runners. I think there were 4. I put 4 of them in on the underside of the building. So technically you could move this shed, bring in the equipment to slide it to another location if you wanted to. The stuff that you see on the side here is for collecting rainwater during the warm months. Flip this over, stick the spout into the top of the barrel, boom, you've got rainwater. This little device here just keeps the spout from flapping around in the winter wind and makes a good spot for the water to drain down. The back side of the building is nothing but ugly. You can see the gas line there, and most importantly, to code, we've got the gas tank sitting, I believe it is 16 feet from the vent of the direct vent heater. 40-pound tank, very useful. The way I use this property, and in terms of how often I use the cabin and how much heating I use, those tanks can last me anywhere from 2 to 3 months. So very affordable in terms of the way I use it. This side here is the lean-to. I want to clean up this back wall here, make it look a little nicer in terms of what you see here for siding. Some old offcuts from my sawmill. My friend and I put those up actually a couple months ago. Maybe not even a couple months ago. And up top there you see the power source for this little building. We've got 2 390 solar watt panels up top there, giving me close to 700 watts of power. And as we come around the building here, you get a better look at that lean-to. Again, nothing special in there. I've got my Ford 9N tractor stored in there right now. But let's head on inside. Whew. Getting a little nippy out there. Inside, nice and warm. Little light power. So as I mentioned, the total exterior dimension of this little shed is 16 by 10. So it's a little bit less on the inside here. When we go on a little tour, as I'm taking you on right now, we don't talk about room to room. We essentially talk about this wall, that wall, or the other wall. So starting on this wall here is the little kitchenette. If you click the attachment up above, you can check out the link for how I built this little area here. Repurposed IKEA cabinets here. I've got things like pots, cutlery, and some dry goods supplies in here like sugar and teas. Nice hardwood countertop that I made. Again, you'll see that in the link that I've posted above. A very large sink over here. No running water, but what I do that I don't have right now is I have a couple of jugs. I think one's a gallon that I bring in. Has a tap on it, and I'm able to use that as kind of a little tap, and I've got a 5-gallon bucket down below here behind these little curtains that hide all the ugly that allow me to kind of have a little bit of a running tap and a sink. Make it functional. The one thing I need to do is add some type of cabinet here, which would just finish out this little setup here in terms of the countertop. Over to the side here, I've just put this in here. I wouldn't say it installed because I've just got it sitting on a little side table, but it is a very tiny Master Chef fridge. I'm able to run it on my electrical system, and with the batteries fully charged and with a lot of good sunlight, I can pretty much run this continuously from day through the night into the next day. However, if you run into a cloudy day or two, I'll come close to draining the batteries. On top, I've got a little 2-burner hot plate, and that pretty much rounds out what I call the little kitchenette area. Here's a good look of the kitchenette area from just above. So you've got the nice sink, the countertop, little shelf there in front of the window. Forgot to mention the window earlier, but that's nice to have there. Lets in light little bit of daylight. And then the fridge, hot plate, and a little storage underneath there. I think I've got my toaster in there. This is a fantastic little hardwood flip up. See the legs contract like that. I've never really, it's not a flip up, sorry, it's a flip down. I've never put it in its down stow position just because I use it all the time. You can see how I'm using it right now. I actually do a little bit of editing here. I'm able to stream and stream some videos as well as obviously read while sitting here. There's the channel. And beside here, another one of these repurposed IKEA cabinets. We picked up these IKEA cabinets for the kids when we lived in London, England, of all places. The same type of cabinet you can buy anywhere else in the world, the beauty of IKEA. And here is what makes this little cabinet special, in my opinion. This is an Ashley Hearth product. It's a direct vent heater. If I remember correctly, it's either 10 or 11,000 BTUs, perfect for heating this size of space, these 2 rooms. And this is what is fed by the propane gas tank outside. It's got that plumbed, professionally plumbed gas line coming in. Works beautifully. And I've spent a few nights out here. Fantastic temperature overnight, especially when it's cold outside, -10, -20 degrees Celsius. Fantastic unit. If you're thinking about building something this size and you need a little heater and you're willing or interested in using propane, this is a great option. Either an Ashley Hearth products or something similar. These direct vent heaters are fantastic. That's the control knobs right there. You've got the on-off, the pilot for the ignition, and the actual ignition igniter right there. There's a little window where you can, right there, you can see the flame down in there. Anyway, that's toasty, a lot of heat coming off. Beautiful. Now this back room is tiny to say the least. It's obviously close to 10 feet wide, but I think the width on it, or the depth of this room is only 5.5 feet. It might only be 5. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Anyways, it's enough to get a normal sized, what is that, a twin bed in here, no problem. I've got a light plugged in, so it can come in here when I decide to spend the night, and it works out quite well. Very cozy bed. I mean, it's a normal twin. Can sleep in here quite well. Got a couple pillows, got a sleeping bag on top of some normal sheets, and it's very toasty, especially with that direct vent heater. And in terms of the finishing in this room, it's drywall. I painted it, and instead of, what's it called, mudding it, I just put on these 1x2 pieces of strapping to cover up all the joints. And there are a couple that I need to get to, like it'd be good to put a piece of trim underneath that window to cover up that joint. But otherwise, you know. So it's quite enjoyable to spend the night in here. Nice blind there, pull it down. And right now outside, just a few degrees, 4 degrees above zero. The flooring, it's an engineered product. Very affordable, and was even more affordable because I purchased it off a lady in the town nearby who had too much in terms of the product, in terms of a project she had at her house. They redid, I think, the whole first floor, and they had a bunch left over, so I was able to pick it up from them at a very affordable price. In terms of the interior siding, this is all material that was left over and essentially offcuts. You see it, I've used it on the ceiling as well. This entire room, except for the wall by the desk, which has burlap on it, it's all with these offcuts. These range anywhere from 1/2 inch to maybe a little bit more than 1/2 inch thick, and I just put them all through the planer. There's no tongue and groove, and so there has been some shrinkage as the boards dried out, and there are some gaps. All right, so I mentioned earlier that this started as a tool shed. Hopefully I've been able to find a couple pictures of its existence as a tool shed, and I've included them in this video. And it was a conversion process. It's not hard to do, but it's a very simple little cabin. Now, I built this cabin on a post frame structure, and I did it that way because that's the structure and the architectural style of the shop next door. So the idea of doing a small storage shed built in the same style was essentially a learning process for me. So in the wall, you don't have 2x4 studs, you have 4x4 posts. And instead of things being 24 on center, the 4x4 posts, I think, are 4 feet apart. So there's 3 or 4 of them on each wall. And it made it a little bit interesting in terms of how I was going to insulate the building. I believe I added some studs just to make it easier. I'm hoping to do a video combining all of my build videos of this little cabin and boil it down into one video, so hopefully that's coming soon as well. In terms of the insulation, under the floor, I think I've got, is it 2 inches of rigid foam board? So that's how I've done the floor, and then I put the hardwood floor on top of it. In the walls, I've got 4-inch rock wall. And in the ceiling, I think I've got 6 inches of insulation, maybe 8. So, it's not a high-end R value undertaking here, but it's more than enough that once I turn on that direct vent heater, it warms up quickly, holds the heat, and I can stay out here for a day or two, essentially until I run my batteries down, if there's not enough sunshine to recharge the batteries for the solar system. So you have the gaps where the boards have dried, and you can see a little bit behind there. And as I mentioned earlier, the building is insulated just like you would a normal house. Now, it's not to the highest standard, of course, but there is a building wrap on the outside underneath the tongue and groove. Then you have the insulation, and then you have a vapor barrier that's underneath this interior siding right here. So, nothing's going to crawl through unless you look into some of the larger gaps, right? Like right there, like you're not going to see that the plastic vapor barrier is right behind there. I am thinking about maybe in some of the larger gaps putting some kind of filler in there. But again, to me, not a major priority. There are some pretty nice off-grid cabins out there that I've seen some people build and showcase on YouTube. This one's a nice one. Maybe this is kind of like a deluxe fishing cabin that you might find out on a lake somewhere. But in terms of my purposes, when I'm out here using my shop, it's a nice place to come on a cold day, and it's warm. But also with the chairs, with the little kitchenette, I can have a little break, catch up on some other things that I'm working on. It serves as a little bit of an office as well. So it really suits my needs, and it's very comfortable at the same time. All right, everyone, that's the story of my off-grid cabin. Thanks for coming along for the little tour that I've taken you on. If you enjoy the video or videos, if you've been watching a while, subscribe, like, and share, and come back for future videos. Let's see what I get up to inside the shop and out here on my property here in Eastern Ontario. Thanks for coming. Enjoy your week.